Hello, Julie. So we're just giving some time for people to join in before we get started. A couple minutes. Hello, Jay. Welcome. Hello, Visaka. Hello, Abby, as well. Hello, Ivy May. All right, we'll get started in just about a minute. Hello, Jayantha. Welcome. All right. How's audio and video? I have a new webcam, so this is my first time with the new webcam. Supposedly a much nicer one than the old one that's probably like 7-8 years now old. We'll see. All right, let's get started. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Uttahatta nisidatta koato supite navo. Aturananhim kanidda sallaviddana rupatang. Uttahatta nisidatta dalhang sikkata santiya mavo pamatte vinyaya machuraja amohitaya vasannuge yaya deva manusa cha sita tittanti attika tara tehat tara tetang visattikang kammovo ma upajjaga kanatita hi sochanti nirayam hi samappita pamado rajo pamado pamadanupatito rajo appamadena vijaya abbabbe salamaton matanoti. All right, English. Wake up. Make an effort. Get up and sit. What need for sleep? For the sick, what rest is there, pierced by the arrow of pain? Get up and sit. Train hard for peace. Let not Mara know that you are negligent, deluded, and under his control. Cross beyond this craving, tied to, desiring which gods and men remain. Don't let this chance pass by. Those who do so grieve, sending themselves to hell. From dust arises negligence, from negligence to more. By diligence and knowledge, pluck out the dart oneself. All right, friends. Well, it is Monday night here on the East Coast of the United States, and that means it is time for Dhammapalooza, the festival of Dhamma with the Maggasekha community, in which we do a variety of different Dhamma-related activities. We started out with some chanting. Later on, we'll do some meditation. In between, who knows? Each Dhammapalooza is different because it is community guided. So for the next couple of minutes in the chat, if you have any questions you'd like me to answer, you can put those in the chat. If you have any topics you'd like me to talk on, you can put those in the chat. Or if you have any topics you'd like the community to discuss, you can put those in the chat. And as always, if nobody has anything, well, then there's always a sutta up my sleeve or some sutta related game that we can play, like sutta roulette. So there's always some activity to be done here. So I'll give the chat a couple of minutes. As I said, for those joining, I have a new webcam now. So please do tell me if the audio and video is good or better than normal. Hello, Gregory. Jay says AV is okay. Very good. I hope everybody had a nice long July 4th weekend, and now you can get back to Dhamma. Get back to work today, maybe. All right, I'll give the chat another minute or so. And we'll see about reading a sutta. If nothing comes up, we haven't read a sutta in a good number of weeks because there's been lots of questions and actually people requesting suttas that we've been reading. So we have read suttas the last couple of weeks, just not community requested suttas. Auda, auda, auda. I'm assuming that means sutta, 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 Visakha, because I know you enjoy when we read suttas. So we have another one from the Majjhima Nikaya. This is the on the section on pairs. Majjhima Nikaya number 39. The long discourse at Assapura. So I have heard. At one time, Buddha was staying in the land of the Angas, near the Angan town named Assapura. Just reading the note as to where this might be. East of Magadha on the Ganges. All right, towards Bengal. So now this is a nice little note that tells us where Anga is. There the Buddha addressed the mendicants. Mendicants, venerable sir, they replied. The Buddha said this. Mendicants, people label you as ascetics. And when they ask you what you are, you claim to be ascetics. Given this label and this claim, you should train like this. We will undertake and follow the things that make one an ascetic and a Brahmin. That way, our label will be accurate and our claim will be correct. So right off the bat, the Buddha is talking about here, hello, Yankee. Buddha is talking about people who claim to be one thing, but through their actions, you can see that they're different. And so, obviously, because the Buddha has compassion for the welfare of monastics and wants them to grow so that the sasana can grow and the sangha and the Dhamma can grow, he wants the monks to be as advertised, right? He wants the monastics to, if they're going to be called ascetics and Brahmins, and again here, this is the Buddha using the this term ascetics and Brahmins to mean like highly trained Arya Sangha or awakened ones, right? This is somebody who's actually really worthy of these titles. Any robes, alms food, lodgings, and medicines and supplies for the sick that we use will be very fruitful and beneficial for the donor. And our going forth will not be wasted, but will be fruitful and fertile. And what are the things that make it? Oh, this is another thing also that's important. Hello, Eunice. This is a name I'm not familiar with. This is this your first time here with us tonight? But to go back to what I was saying, this is there is a reciprocal relationship in terms of dana, in terms of merit. Right? There is the layperson giving the dana, and there is the monk whose job is to be worthy of it so that it's even more beneficial for the layperson giving the dana. This is why we see in many places in the monastic rules and even in the suttas where a monk is said to be one who is a debtor, right? Who eats the country's alms food, a debtor. So a monk needs to uphold their end of the bargain and be as advertised. Well, hello, Eunice. Welcome. How did you find out about Maggasekha or myself? Because I don't think this is a completely brand new name to me, if I'm not mistaken, unless I know you as something else somewhere else. And what are the things that make one an ascetic and a Brahmin? You should train like this. We will have conscience and prudence. That's very important. Have conscience and prudence. Now, mendicants, you might think, we have conscience and prudence. Just this much is enough. We have achieved the goal of the ascetic life. There is nothing more to do, and you might rest content with just that much. I declare this to you, mendicants. I announce this to you. You who seek to be true ascetics, do not lose sight of the goal of the ascetic life, while there is still more to do. What more is there to do? You should train like this. Our bodily behavior will be pure, clear, open, neither inconsistent nor secretive. So this is also something we see in the suttas, where the Buddha kind of warns you about getting too content with the progress that you've made. Right? Don't get too content that you stop the path. Right? You get, halfway down the path or 3/4 down the path, and your zeal wanes, and you're kind of like, I think this is a good enough place to stop. Right? The Buddha warns against this. And in here, obviously, we're going to be ramping up until awakening, obviously, as we get started here. Eunice says, my channel was recommended on YouTube. Now, that is interesting. The YouTube algorithm and things like this is quite a secretive thing. They don't really tell you how things go. But so welcome. So if only the YouTube algorithm was pure, clear, open, neither inconsistent nor secretive. And we won't glorify ourselves or put others down on account of our pure bodily behavior. Now, mendicants, you might think, we have conscience and prudence, and our bodily behavior is pure. Just this much is enough. I declare this to you, mendicants. I announce this to you. You who seek to be true ascetics, do not lose sight of the goal of the ascetic life, while there is still more to do. What more is there to do? You should train like this. Our verbal behavior, our mental behavior, our livelihood will be pure, clear, open, neither inconsistent nor secretive. And we won't glorify ourselves or put others down on account of our pure livelihood. Yes, Gregory. YouTube teaches with a closed fist. Yeah. Now, mendicants, you might think, we have conscience and prudence. Our bodily, verbal, and mental behavior is pure. Our livelihood is pure. Just this much is enough. We have achieved the goal of life as an ascetic. There is nothing more to do, and you might rest content with just that much. And let me tell you, that's quite an achievement. Where like doing all of that is a hard thing in and of itself. Like this is not like the Buddha is saying, you've barely done anything, keep going. I mean, he kind of is in a way, but even to come this far is a pretty big achievement. So you might kind of understand why somebody might think, oh, I've come really far, and kind of be like, oh, this is good enough for me. You who seek to be true ascetics, do not lose sight of the goal of the ascetic life, while there is still more to do. What more is there to do? You should train yourselves like this. We will restrain our sense doors. When we see a sight with our eyes, we won't get caught up in its features and details. If the faculty of sight were left unrestrained, bad, unskillful qualities of covetousness and displeasure would be overwhelming. For this reason, we practice restraint. we will protect the faculty of sight and we will achieve its restraint. Conscience, prudence, bodily behavior. I'm just kind of backtracking here just to kind of cover. There is some level of this being fairly in line with the Buddha's gradual practice. Because it's the beginning of this is, much more about sila. Conscience and prudence, pure behavior, etc. And now we've gone to the next level of restraint of the senses. Hello, Ryan. Welcome. Good to have you with us. All right. When we hear a sound with our ears, when we see a smell, an odor with our nose, it's kind of small, isn't it? I should go a bit bigger for you guys, maybe, if you're following along. Yeah, that's better. All right. When we smell an odor with our nose, when we taste a flavor with our tongue, when we feel a touch with our body, when we know an idea with our mind, we won't get caught up in its features and details. If the faculty of mind were left unrestrained, bad, unskillful qualities of covetousness and displeasure would become overwhelming. For this reason, we practice restraint. We will protect the faculty of mind, and we will achieve its restraint. Now, mendicants, you might think, we have conscience and prudence, our bodily, verbal, and mental behavior is pure, our livelihood is pure, and our sense doors are restrained. Just this much is enough. What more is there to do? You should train yourself like this. We will not eat too much. We will eat only after reflecting rationally on our food. And again, this Bhante Sujato has translated Yoniso Manasikara as rationally, which I mean technically fits, but I don't think it fits the real the point behind Yoniso Manasikara. So you can think of this as we will eat after reflecting on the origin, after the definition for sampajanya is coming to mind, clear comprehension. I'm trying to remember what Yoniso Manasikara, the more traditional translation. It'll come to me. But the idea is having a mindful experience, mindful reflection on the food. We will eat not for fun. And if you have gone to a monastery, you've heard monks chant this. Patisankha yoniso pindapatang. Oh, this is different. Nevadavaya navadaya namandanaya navibhusanaya yavadeva imasa. This is the meal reflection chant. Right? So this is what monks chant before they eat, in Theravada at least. We will eat not for fun, indulgence, adornment, or decoration, but only to sustain this body, to avoid harm, and to support the spiritual practice. In this way, we shall put an end to old discomfort and not give rise to new discomfort, and we will live blamelessly and at ease. Hello, Rick. Welcome. I see Gregory has a question. We can work on that a bit later. Now, mendicants, you might think we have conscience and prudence. Our bodily, verbal, and mental behavior is pure. Our livelihood is pure. Our sense doors are restrained, and we don't eat too much. Just this is enough. What more is there to do? You should train yourselves like this. We will be dedicated to wakefulness. When practicing walking and sitting meditation by day, we will purify our mind from obstacles. In the evening, we will continue by practicing walking and sitting meditation. In the middle of the night, we will lie down in the lion's posture on the right side, placing one's foot on top of another, mindful and aware and focused on the time of getting up. In the last part of the night, we will get up and continue to practice walking and sitting meditation. If you've ever wanted to know what the Pali word for walking meditation is, it's chankama. This here is just, it has the declension of chankamena, chankama. Also, the word for like doing what most Westerners know as a tudong or a wandering, like wandering from village to village, etc. Chankama. Now, mendicants, you might think we have conscience and prudence. Our bodily, verbal, and mental behavior is pure. Our livelihood is pure. Our sense doors are restrained. We don't eat too much, and we are dedicated to wakefulness. Just this is enough. What more is there to do? You should train yourselves like this. Hello, JRF. Welcome. We will have sampajanya, situational awareness, or clear comprehension, is what most people translate it as. And mindfulness. So sati sampajanya, this is a very common compound that you see in the suttas. Sati sampajanya, mindfulness and clear comprehension. And this is the definition in the Satipatthana Sutta of what clear comprehension is. We will act with situation awareness when going out and coming back, when looking ahead and aside, when bending and extending the limbs, when bearing the outer robe, bowl, and robes. So the outer robe is the sangati. That's if you ever with monks, especially during chanting, they have the one robe that's folded over the shoulders. That's what so the sangati, that's the outer robe, the bowl, and the rest of the robes, the upper robe here, chivara. When eating, drinking, chewing, and tasting, when urinating and defecating. Next time you go to the bathroom, don't bring your phone in there. Pay very close attention. Have clear comprehension of what's going on. When walking, standing, sitting, sleeping, waking, speaking, and keeping silent. Now, mendicant, you might think we have conscience and prudence. Our bodily behavior, verbal and mental, is pure. Our livelihood is pure. Our sense doors are restrained. We don't eat too much. We are dedicated to wakefulness. And we have mindfulness and situational awareness. Just this much is enough. What more is there to do? Take a mendicant who frequents secluded lodgings, a wilderness, the root of a tree, a hill, a ravine, a mountain cave, a charnel ground, a forest, an open air, a heap of straw. So this is another thing. The Bhante Sujato has correctly translated what most people translate as forest, aranya. Most people, and so what we know, the English term for a place like a monastery, what do we say? We say a forest monastery. But technically, aranya means wilderness. Wilderness is anything out a mile or more outside of a village. So we really should say a wilderness monastery, because there could be other wildernesses besides forests. But anyway, that's just an aside. After the meal, they return from alms round, sit down cross-legged, set their body straight, and establish mindfulness in their presence. This word parimukkham, this is the mukha is like the front of the face. So some people that say, they'll translate it, they think this is establish mindfulness at the nose, right? Establish mindfulness right here. But most people, and myself also, we translate it as like bringing mindfulness to the fore. Like, okay, now I am being mindful. Same thing with Bhante Ji, if I remember correctly. So this is establishing mindfulness in their presence, giving up covetousness for the world. So we're going into jhanas, by the way. I'm pretty sure we're going into jhanas. Giving up covetousness for the world, they meditate with the heart rid of covetousness, cleansing the mind of covetousness, giving up ill will, the 5 hindrances we're going through, and malevolence. They meditate with a mind rid of ill will, full of compassion for all living beings, cleansing the mind of ill will. Giving up dullness and drowsiness. They meditate with a mind rid of dullness and drowsiness, perceiving light, mindful and aware, cleansing the mind of dullness and drowsiness. Giving up restlessness and remorse. They meditate without restlessness and remorse. Their mind is peaceful inside, cleansing the mind of restlessness and remorse. Giving up doubt. They meditate having gone beyond doubt, not undecided about skillful qualities, cleansing the mind of doubt. So this is, for those of you who might be a little unsure of what is meant by doubt in the 5 hindrances, this is what we're talking about, right? Doubt in kind of knowing what is skillful and what's unskillful, what's good and what's bad. Of course, we also have, in terms of the one of the fetters, that a sotapanna has no more doubt. This is also in relation to doubt in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, doubt in the teachings, Nibbana, and etc. But when the hindrances specifically, it's talking about what is skillful and unskillful. You might think having a mind full of a greedy, attached mind is a skillful thing, or being angry is a skillful thing. Nope. These are hindrances. Suppose a man, and these are very famous similes about what it's like when there are no hindrances, when they go away. So suppose a man had gotten into debt, who has gotten into debt would apply himself to work, and his efforts prove successful. He would pay off the original loan and have enough left over to support his partner. Thinking about this, he'd be filled with joy and happiness. Suppose a person were sick, suffering, and gravely ill. They'd lose their appetite and get physically weak. But after some time, they recover from that illness and regain their appetite and their strength. Thinking about this, they'd be filled with joy and happiness. Suppose a person were imprisoned in jail, but after some time, they were released from jail, safe and sound, with no loss of wealth. Thinking about this, they'd be filled with joy and happiness. Suppose a person was a slave. They would not be their own master, but indentured to another, unable to go where they wish. But after some time, they'd be free from servitude. They would be their own master, not indentured to another, an emancipated individual, able to go where they wish. Thinking about this, they'd be filled with joy and happiness. Suppose there was a person with wealth and property who was traveling along a desert road. But after some time, they crossed over the desert safe and sound with no loss of wealth. Thinking about this, they'd be filled with joy and happiness. In the same way, as long as these 5 hindrances are not given up inside themselves, a mendicant regards them as a debt a disease, a prison, slavery, a desert crossing. But when these 5 hindrances are given up inside themselves, a mendicant regards this as freedom from debt, good health, release from prison, emancipation, and the place of sanctuary at last. They give up these 5 hindrances, corruptions of the heart that weaken wisdom. Then, quite secluded from sensual pleasure, secluded from unwholesome, unskillful qualities, they enter and remain in the first jhana, which has the rapture and bliss born of seclusion, while placing the mind and keeping it connected. They drench, steep, fill, and spread their body with rapture and bliss born of seclusion. There's no part of the body that's not spread with rapture and bliss born of seclusion. It's like when a deaf bathroom attendant or their apprentice pours a bath powder into a bronze dish, sprinkling it little by little with water. They knead it until the ball of bath powder is soaked and saturated with moisture, spreading through inside and out, yet no moisture oozes out. In the same way, a mendicant drenches, steeps, fills, and spreads their body with rapture and bliss born of seclusion. There's no part of the body that's not spread with rapture and bliss born of seclusion. Furthermore, as the placing of the mind and keeping it connected are still, the mendicant enters and remains in the second jhana, which has the rapture and bliss born of immersion. Remember, keep in mind here, the rapture and bliss reason has changed. First, in the first jhana, it was seclusion from the hindrances and unskillful states. Now it is born of the immersion, as we're going deeper. The samadhi. With internal clarity and mind at one, without placing the mind and keeping it connected. They drench, steep, fill, and spread their body with rapture and bliss born of immersion. There's no part of the body that's not spread with rapture and bliss born of immersion. It's like a deep lake fed by spring water. There's no inlet to the east, west, north, or south, no rainfall to replenish it from time to time, but the stream of cool water welling up in the lake drenches, steeps, fills, and spreads throughout the lake. There's no part of the lake that's not spread with cool water. Okay, just checking the chat. In the same way, a mendicant drenches, steeps, fills, and spreads their body with rapture and bliss born of immersion. There's no part of the body that's not spread with rapture and bliss born of immersion. Furthermore, with the fading away of rapture, a mendicant enters and remains in the third jhana, where they meditate with equanimity, mindful and aware, personally experiencing the bliss of which the noble ones declare, equanimous and mindful, one meditates in bliss. They drench, steep, fill, and spread their body with bliss freed of rapture. There's no part of the body that's not spread with bliss free of rapture. It's like a pool that with blue water lilies or pink and white lotuses, some of them sprout and grow in the water without rising above it, thriving underwater. From the tip of the root, they're drenched, steeped, filled, and soaked with cool water. There's no part of them that's not soaked with cool water. In the same way, a mendicant drenches, steeps, fills, and spreads their body with the bliss free of rapture. There's no part of the body that's not spread with bliss free of rapture. Furthermore, by giving up pleasure and pain and ending former happiness and sadness, a mendicant enters and remains in the fourth jhana without pleasure or pain, with pure equanimity and mindfulness. They sit spreading their body through with pure, bright mind. There's no part of the body that's not spread with pure, bright mind. It's like someone sitting wrapped from head to foot with white cloth. There's no part of the body that's not spread over with white cloth. White cloth for the purity, right? This is a pure mind. No likes and dislikes, no pleasure and pain, just mindfulness and equanimity. In the same way, they sit spreading their body through with pure, bright mind. There's no part of the body that's not spread with pure, bright mind. When their mind has become immersed in samadhi like this, purified, bright, flawless, rid of corruptions, pliable, workable, steady, and imperturbable, they extend it to the recollection of past lives. Now we are seeing the three knowledges. So we're basically very close to awakening at this point. They recollect many kinds of past lives with features and details. Suppose a person was to leave their home village and go to another village. From that village, they'd go to yet another village. From that village, they'd return to their home village. They'd think, I went from my home village to another village. There I stood like this, that, sat like that, spoke like this, or kept silent like that. From that village, I went to yet another village. There too, I stood there like this, sat like that, spoke like this, or kept silent like that. And from that village, I returned to my home village. In the same way, a mendicant recollects their many kinds of past lives with the features and details. So this is an interesting simile. This is pretty rare because normally when this is described, it's one recollects the 100,000 eons, etc., 100,000 lives. This was my clan. This was my food. This is how I lived. This was my village, etc., etc. So this is a different simile of explaining. It's quite an interesting one, right? It's just like if you're traveling from village to village to village to village, that's what you're doing from life to life to life. When their mind has become immersed in samadhi like this, purified, bright, flawless, rid of corruption, pliable, workable, steady, and imperturbable, they extend it towards the knowledge of death and rebirth of sentient beings. With clairvoyance that is purified and superhuman, they see sentient beings passing away and being reborn, inferior and superior, beautiful and ugly, in a good place or a bad place. They understand how sentient beings are reborn according to their deeds. Suppose there were two houses with doors. A person with clear eyes standing between them would see people entering and leaving a house and wandering to and fro. In the same way, with clairvoyance that is purified and superhuman, they see sentient beings passing away and being reborn, inferior and superior, beautiful and ugly, in a good place or a bad place. They understand how sentient beings are reborn according to their deeds. When their mind has become immersed in samadhi like this, purified, bright, flawless, rid of corruptions, pliable, workable, steady, and imperturbable, they extend it towards the knowledge of the ending of defilements. They truly understand this is suffering. This is the origin of suffering. This is the cessation of suffering. This is the practice that leads to the cessation of suffering. They truly understand these are the defilements. This is the origin of the defilements. This is the cessation of the defilements. This is the practice that leads to the cessation of the defilements. Knowing and seeing like this, their mind is freed from the defilements of sensuality, desire to be reborn, and ignorance. When they're freed, they know they are freed. They understand rebirth is ended. The spiritual journey has been completed. What had to be done has been done. There is no return to any state of existence. Hello, Christian. Welcome. Perennial. Yes, you changed your name. All right. I'm doing pretty good these days. Pretty good. Not too bad. Having a good battle with Mara. And holding my own. You win some, you lose some. Suppose that in a mountain glen there was a lake that was transparent, clear, and unclouded. A person with clear eyes standing on the bank would see the clams and the mussels, and pebbles and gravel, and schools of fish swimming about or staying still. They'd think, this lake is transparent, clear, and unclouded, and here are the clams and mussels, and pebbles and gravel, and schools of fish swimming about or staying still. In the same way, a mendicant truly understands this is suffering. This is the origin of suffering. This is the cessation of suffering. This is the practice that leads to the cessation of suffering. They understand there is no return to any state of existence. This mendicant is one who is called an ascetic, a Brahmin, a bathed initiate, a knowledge master, a scholar, a noble one, and also a perfected one. And how is a mendicant an ascetic? They have assuaged the bad, unskillful qualities that are corrupting, leading to future lives, hurtful, resulting in suffering and future rebirth, old age, and death. That's how a mendicant is an ascetic. And how is a mendicant a Brahmin? They have banished the bad, unskillful qualities. That's how a mendicant is a Brahmin. And how is a mendicant a bathed initiate? They have bathed off the bad, unskillful qualities. That's how a mendicant is bathed initiate. And how is a mendicant a knowledge master? They have known the bad, unskillful qualities. That's how a mendicant is a knowledge master. And how is a mendicant a scholar? They have scoured off the bad, unskillful qualities. That's how a mendicant is a scholar. And how is a mendicant a noble one? They have nobbled their foes. Nobbled, that's an interesting word. I don't know if I know that word. Maybe that's more common in Australian English. They have nobbled their foes, the bad, unskillful qualities. That's how a mendicant is a noble one. And how is a mendicant a perfected one? They are impeccably remote from the bad, unskillful qualities that are corrupting, leading to future lives, hurtful, resulting in suffering and future rebirth, old age, and death. That's how a mendicant is a perfected one. That is what the Buddha said. Satisfied, the mendicants approved of what the Buddha said. Sadhu. Now that is a very powerful sutta. Very powerful. So, hello, Pranay, or Pranay. Welcome. Novel, to disable, to win someone over. All right, thank you. Thank you, Christian. Very good. All right, let's check the chat. I'm still working through how to practice with repetition and satipatthana. Arises when it arises, ceases when it ceases. Is the idea to notice when desires and the sense doors arise and pass away. It's to notice when anything arises and passes away. Whatever you're investigating. What is the normal person? What happens normally? Anger arises in their mind and they become angry. Where did that anger come from? It was magic. It just came out of nowhere. No. You need to know how that anger arises as it arises, and also know how it ceases when it ceases. Right? It's at that spot, and in that Satipatthana, it says this. When you're looking at this spot, this is where craving arises. This is where it ceases. And so it's not necessarily that you need to be attached to a very specific spot or place. It's basically all dhammas, all phenomena. You can arise, you can observe. This is how this arises. This is how this ceases. When you watch the mind long enough, you'll actually be able to see, okay, this arose and then anger arose. And then as you go deeper, you'll be able to like, oh, this arose, then that arose, then anger arose. Like you're able to kind of see the chain of events in a more deeper way, right? You go back towards more of the chain of events. When you're trying to investigate the arising and the ceasing, That's what you're doing. You're trying to be mindful of paticca samuppada, of dependent origination. That when this arises, that arises. When this ceases, that ceases. Anger just arose in my mind out of nowhere. Lust just arose out of my mind out of nowhere. No, that's not how it works. Which means you can, with skilled and trained enough mindfulness and clarity of mind, you can actually observe why it arises. And you can observe how it ceases. And then if you're skilled enough, like when you know the hindrances very well, you know how to make those hindrances cease. You've developed techniques. You've practiced. Oh, yeah, okay. I know. Oh, sloth and torpor. I know how to handle this. Restlessness and remorse. No worries. I got this. I've seen this enough. I've tried this, this, and this. I know this works. I'm going to do that. It's you become a master. That's what, like, the in the sutta we just read, the knowledge master is basically someone who understands the phenomena, right? When you understand the different levels of this, then you are a knowledge master. Yes, the hindrance similes are wonderful, without a doubt. Christian says, am I an empty cloud? No, no. I will not be an empty cloud for another year. I go once a year pretty much. I mean, I'll be visiting. I'll probably stay for a week during the Vasa, maybe. And I'm sure they'll drag me on events while I'm there. But other than that, no, I'll maybe next May, or who knows. We'll have to see. You brought a great print from the Tibet House. I was at the Tibet House once with Ajahn Brahm. This was it 2018, 17 or 18 when Ajahn Brahm came to America, and Buddhist Insights grabbed him. And I got to spend a couple of days with him. There's a great picture on my Facebook of me and Bhante Siraso with Ajahn Brahm sitting in the subway. So I have been to the Tibet House once. Hello, Rupa. Welcome. Let's see. Dear Bhante, any suggestions for restlessness when not keeping busy or meditating? Can you clarify that a little bit more? You mean when you're just kind of like hanging out, enjoying the moment, and your mind starts to, because you're not meditating and you're not busy. So this is kind of asking about something for a very specific state. If you have any more clarity or to give to me on that question, I'd appreciate it. I'm feeling restlessness when I'm doing nothing. Well, your mind is in the default mode network, right? Your mind is in the state. It's the same thing with meditation. Your mind thinks that meditation means you're not doing anything, at least in the beginning. Once you've practiced a number of years and you've trained your mind, then it's not like that anymore. But your mind just thinks, okay, well, now is the time for me to start thinking. And that's not actually a bad idea. So I've even thought about that as well. Like I've even thought, like, maybe I should just give myself 5 minutes every day where I just do nothing. I just sit there and allow, my mind to think, to kind of process through things, right? It's not meditation, right? So it's just giving myself time to think. And actually, I think that actually is better for your meditation, because if you give yourself time to think, then you'll probably have your mind will be more calm when you actually meditate, because you've already kind of given it space to kind of work through whatever it wanted to work through. So if you're not doing anything, you're not meditating, you're not being mindful, you're not practicing like sati sampajanya, satipatthana, then observe what your mind wants to think about, investigate that, understand it. What's coming up? Maybe it's something you have to think about. And that's just the kind of the natural state of the mind when you're not doing any activity. It thinks that, hey, now is the time. We've been putting this off. Let's think about this. How do I develop dispassion for the world without falling into depression? If you have true dispassion, you will not be depressed. You will be happy. Right? If you are depressed when dispassion is actually arising, you're not doing it right, and that's not real dispassion. It isn't. Dispassion, this nibbida, which is disenchantment, right, or disintoxication, where you're seeing the world more for what it is, so it's not as enchanting anymore. You're not as intoxicated with it anymore. And then, because you're not intoxicated anymore, you're not enchanted anymore, the passion to do, to engage with it is just not there. It's like, oh, why am I bothering to do this? Don't get much out of it. It's just suffering. I'm just going to let it go. So there is no right, but I feel very sad over it. Are you forcing yourself to be dispassionate? Is there a mental health thing going on? Right? There's other. Honestly, I don't think you can have true disenchantment and dispassion and be sad over it. I think there's something else going on. I don't know. Yeah, what I would say is, yeah, perhaps more work needs to be done. Yeah, what I would say is investigate that. See if you can see if certain things are triggering the depression. Like, is it a certain thought? Is it a certain thought of letting go of a specific thing? Like, see if you can observe what are the causes and conditions when that depression arises. Investigate it. Take it as an object of meditation, and see what comes from that. That freedom guy. Hello, that freedom guy. Is this somebody that I know in a different name, or are you joining us for the first time? Also you sound like me. In lay life, I was big on political freedom. And as a monastic, I'm big on freedom from suffering. So you could also call me that freedom guy. I love freedom. Hello, Karuna. Good to see you. Karuna is spaced out. Far out, Karuna. Glad that you joined us. So let's see. I'll keep an eye on the chat for the next minute or so. Hello, Maria. Welcome. Yeah, we had a good sutta today. 45 minutes or so of reading a very good sutta. So definitely catch that later if you can. I'll give the chat another minute or so. And if nothing else comes up, it might be a good time to do our meditation. Oh. All right, Freedom Guy. Well, if you don't mind me asking, how did you come across me or this channel in general? I always like to ask that to new people. I wonder if the algorithm is catching on my channel for some reason. Maybe because I've been releasing actual videos the last couple of days. YouTube does not like live streams; it likes videos. And so, if you actually make videos, which I admit I have been really bad at for the last couple of years, my nomad life, I've not been doing very much videos. Maybe the YouTube algorithm is catching. Yeah, look, very good. The mind will always throw tantrums. Yep, that's pretty much accurate. Until you've trained it well, then the tantrums will be less. If you train your mind well after a number of years, then your mind will be more like an annoying teenager than a 3-year-old toddler. You'll at least be able to handle it a little bit easier, so I guess that's what I would say. Just found you. Very good. The tantrums seem to change and still take by surprise. Yeah, it's a bit more nuanced because they're teenager. Your mind is um, somewhat grown up, but it's still not. It's not awakened. So, and your mind will have a more nuanced take on it on the tantrum. But because you've trained your mind, it's not. You're not going to be easily fooled. At least not after the first couple times. Once you catch on, you're like, oh, I see. Hmm. Fool me once, as they say. All right. I think now might be a good time for meditation. And then after meditation, I'm glad to see the community talking to each other and supporting each other in the chat. Very good. Those you regulars know that is something I always encourage and like to see. This is a community event. It's not just a log in and hear Bante Yapam for an hour and a half. So good to see. But I think we can do our meditation. So set your body up in whatever comfortable and stable position works for you. Whether you're sitting on a meditation cushion, a chair, couch, etc. We'll start by doing a mindful scan of the body. Starting from the feet, moving up to the head. We do this for two reasons. The first is to bring our mind from the busyness and activity of the day to focusing in on this mind and body. And secondly, to develop a keen and deep understanding of our body and posture so we can sit for longer periods of time with less pain. So start by placing your focus and mindfulness on the feet. By placing focus, this means to focus in on whatever feeling or sensation is arising in that part of the body, such as the feeling of the feet pressing against the floor, the cushion, the opposite leg, etc. Moving up through the ankles into the calves. Through the knees and into the thighs. What's the feeling of the thighs pressing against the chair, the cushion? Up through to the hips and pelvis. This is an important part of your body for posture. Pay close attention to how the position of the hips and pelvis impacts your posture, both the legs and the spine as we move upwards in a bit. Whenever you see a small feeling of discomfort or a small imbalance, now is the time to adjust your body as much as you need. Because small things now will turn into much larger things later on. The idea is to move as much as you need now so you can move as little as possible later. Move up the spine through the abdomen and the chest. Checking that the spine is not leaning or slouching here or there. Any kind of slouching can impede your breathing. We want the spine to be, if possible, resting in its natural position. With its natural curvature, not slouched over, or nor that you're trying to force it to be very straight. Both will cause problems in your practice and in your posture as you sit for longer periods. Move up to the shoulders, checking they're hanging loosely, not scrunched up and tight. Down through to the elbows and hands, observing how their position also impacts your posture. And finally, up to the head, checking that it also is not leaning or slouching here or there, chin parallel to the floor. When you're done setting up your body in a comfortable and stable position, let the body go and take 3 deep breaths. Then let the breath go. From here on in, try not to manipulate or control the breath in any way. Your body has been breathing from the moment you were born and will continue to do so until the second you die. It doesn't need you to do its job. Your job is to simply observe, investigate, and abide with the breath as the body breathes in and the body breathes out. As you follow your breath, your mind will become bored, will seek to run away to the past or the future, into various stories and fantasies, or an external distraction like a sound will arise. Your mind will become agitated and chase after it. When this happens, know that you did not do anything wrong. You didn't fail as a meditator. This is simply the mind showing you how it works, showing you its craving. Whenever you get distracted away, eventually it will start to dawn on you that you have been taken away from the breath. When this happens, try to come back to full focus and mindfulness. Fully acknowledge that you have been taken away from the breath. Practice letting go of the distraction if it's still there by neither getting agitated and trying to push it away, nor by continuing to be excited and attached to it. Do your best to let it go, to let it be, to give it no effort, energy, or attention. If you're able to do that, it will just simply go as it came and eventually fade away, and then return to the breath. So whenever you're distracted away, acknowledge, let go, and return over and over. Doesn't matter how many times you're distracted away. No need for agitation and judgment and annoyance. Just simply acknowledge, let go, and return. Train your mind to stay on the breath. Acknowledge, let go, and return. Always come back to the breath. Breath is always there doing its job, ready for you to follow it towards a more calm and tranquil mind. Slowly start to open your eyes, becoming aware of the room around you, your body's position in it. Reflecting on the state of your mind before and after the meditation, and contemplating any experiences that stood out. And before we actually close out, Gregory snuck in a question here. How would you advise a non-Buddhist on how to deal with proliferating thoughts and narratives about the past? As a meditator, I see them come and go in the mind, but they don't meditate. This is a hard one, right? Because unless somebody is really kind of willing to put in the work, this is not an easy answer to this. Are these proliferating thoughts and narratives like harming them? Is it trauma? Is it, um, is it causing them suffering? Most likely it is, because all these things do cause suffering. um, But I think if they were to ask me the question, I would say, well, you have to kind of start to look at your mind. And also you question, well, why are these thoughts in my mind? Is this due to unresolved trauma, or is this due to something I need to think about, I need to act on, etc.? And sometimes you just have to let people be with their suffering. There's not much you can do sometimes. But, all right. Why don't we do Dhammapada? The Fool. Long is the night to the sleepless. Long is the league to the weary. Long is worldly existence to fools who know not the sublime truth. Should a seeker not find a companion who is better or equal, let him resolutely pursue a solitary course. There is no fellowship with the fool. The fool worries, thinking, I have sons, I have wealth. Indeed, when he himself is not his own, whence are sons? Whence is wealth? A fool who knows his foolishness is wise, at least to that extent. And this is echoes the Socrates statement, which they were alive at the same time, Buddha and Socrates. But what does Socrates say? Uh, I am wise to this extent that I know nothing. Something to that. But this is the same kind of concept. A fool who knows his foolishness is wise at least to that extent. But a fool who thinks himself wise is a fool indeed. Though all his life a fool associates with a wise man, he no more comprehends the truth than a spoon tastes the flavor of the soup. Though only for a moment a discerning person associates with a wise man, quickly he comprehends the truth, just as the tongue tastes the flavor of the soup. Fools of little wit are enemies unto themselves, as they move about doing evil deeds, the fruits of which are bitter. Ill done is that action of doing which one repents later, and the fruit of which one, weeping, reaps with tears. Well done is the action of doing which one repents not later, and the fruit of which one reaps with delight and happiness. So long as an evil deed has not ripened, the fool thinks it's sweet as honey. But when the evil deed ripens, the fool comes to grief. Month after month, the fool may eat his food with the tip of a blade of grass, but he is still not worth the 16th part of those who have comprehended the truth. Truly, an evil deed committed does not immediately bear fruit, like milk that does not turn sour all at once, but smoldering it follows the fool like fire covered by ashes. To his own ruin, the fool gains knowledge, for it cleaves his head and destroys his innate goodness. The fool seeks undeserved reputation, precedence among monks, authority over monasteries, and honor among householders. Let both laymen and monks think that it is done by me. In every work, great and small, let them follow me. Such is the ambition of a fool. Thus his desire and pride increase. One is the quest for worldly gain. Quite another is the path to Nibbana. Clearly understanding this, let not the monk, the disciple of the Buddha, be carried away by worldly acclaim, but develop detachment instead. Wonderful, beautiful words. Yeah, month after month, fool might eat Using the tip of a blade of grass. So I'm assuming this is an ascetic practice. That's what I'm getting out of it, right? Like they're being ascetic. Like, oh, look, I'm so ascetic. I'm eating, I'm bathing 3 times a day, or I'm eating with the tip of a blade of grass. Only that much. Only what I can, like when you eat just like the 1 grain of rice a day. I think that's what it is. It's a mortification practice. That's what the Buddha is saying there. I could be totally wrong, but that's what I'm pretty much guessing. My educated guess. All right, friends. So I think we are good. So with that, friends, we will do our. Jay. Well, what did Bhante Ji say? So with that, friends, we will do our final business and then sharing of merit. So if you are joining us for the first time and you would like to know more about myself and the organization I'm building, Maggasekha, Student of the Path, you can go to the website listed on the screen, maggasekha.org, maggasekha.org. That is my headquarters. Every time I do an event, like I have a retreat coming up, in a Zoom retreat coming up in a couple weeks, the next 3 months, July, August, and September, I'll be offering retreats. You can find out more about those on the website. You can find out when I make a new article, make a video, any news, anything new coming from me and Maggasekha comes from that website. So you can go to Maggasekha down there. You can also find links to various social medias, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. And then you can, on the top right, you can put your email in and you can subscribe, and then you will get an email notification after everything, anytime I post something new. Is Jay on the Discord? I guess probably Jay is probably on the Discord. Sometimes it's hard to know. All right. So let's share merit. Dukkha patta chane dukkha, bhaya patta chane bhaya, soka patta chane soka, hontu sabbe pipaniyo, etavata chamehi sampadang punya sampadang, sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya, akasata chabumata deva naga mahiddhika punyang tang anumoditva, charang rakantu sasanam. May the suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit of ours for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas, nagas, and yakas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddhist dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. All right, friends. Well, we have come to the end of another Dhammapalooza. Sukhi Hotu, may you be happy and at ease. Practice well and be well. And may you have a spiritually successful and peaceful practice until we meet again, which, if I'm alive, could be tomorrow morning for a morning monastery experience, 8 a.m. New York time, or could be next Saturday for Insight Timer session, an hour and a half Saturday session on Insight Timer. Suttas Monday on the Discord, Sundays at 7 p.m., or perhaps next week for another Dhammapalooza. So, friends, have a good week.